Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
It's time for Making a Living with Maggie Mistel, one of the nation's best-known career coaches. Ready to soul search, research, and job search into your ideal career? Career Happy Hour starts now.
Hi, I'm Maggie Mistel. Welcome to Making a Living with Maggie. This is the place where we talk about how to make a great living and live a great life. Over the years, I've seen how powerful it is when people give themselves permission to listen to that inner voice, the one that whispers, "There's something more for you." That's your soul calling, and on this show, I help you answer it. Each episode, I share insights, tools, and inspiring stories to help you soul search, research, and job search your way into work that truly fits who you are. And I always bring in what I'm seeing out there right now. And here are some things. Let's see. A lot of fear in the headlines. And I know you could say, well, things are scary, Maggie. There's layoffs, there's automation, there's uncertainty. And while it's smart to stay informed, it's not healthy to fall prey to fear. The truth is, your career isn't defined by the news cycle. It's not. I know. You think it is. You think you're beholden or whipped around by everything happening around you. But I can tell you from my experience as a coach through many different economic times, not all positive, what's actually career success is defined by your vision, your skills, and your belief in yourself. So incorporate that mindset into your day. Don't make doom scrolling something that you spend your time and attention on. In fact, if you do find that's the case, stop, shut it off, and listen to one of my podcasts where we talk about how to define your vision. Okay, I'll put a link in the show notes. All right, just get back on the horse. Just get back to yourself. Because the other interesting thing I'm seeing is that collaboration is incredibly powerful. And maybe that's always been the case, but I'm finding the collaborations I'm doing to be off the charts amazing. And it's interesting because I never really thought about it, but I think there's power, right? In basically bouncing ideas off of each other, in working together to create something. Going alone is fine too, but when you bring in others, I've found new doors open and success is multiplying. So collaboration is a true career superpower and something that you can leverage if you're not finding the energy around what you've been doing, or it doesn't seem to be working like it used to. Try collaborating with someone. Try finding someone in your network or using the different tools we have like LinkedIn to find someone that inspires you. Reach out to them. Start some collaboration sessions and see what happens. I think you too will be very pleasantly surprised by the outcomes and the energy you feel when you're working together on something as opposed to just on your own. And I'm also seeing clients wake up to the many ways that they can be creative in their work. Creativity isn't just for artists. I'm literally working with someone right now who is extremely art-focused growing up, and then life kind of took over later past college and into adulthood, and she's felt that she hasn't been creative at all. But the truth is, it's shown up in her problem solving, in her new approaches to challenges, and how she connects with others. So creativity is one of those things that takes many forms in our lives. And she was pleasantly surprised to realize that it was still very present and a big part of her. In fact, it came up in an exercise that I have my soul search folks do that's about career feedback, right? And it's asking others about your best skills, abilities, talents, and qualities. And her creativity was off the charts. And here she was thinking she wasn't being creative when the reality was she was being creative in everything she does. In fact, that's one of the points of feedback she got. She exudes creativity. So that's exciting too. It's like waking up to realizing we're all creators. And when you tap into that creativity, your work can feel more alive and more fulfilling. So again, collaboration, creativity, all of these things that are uniquely human that we can bring to an evolving world of technology that, can scare us into thinking we're going to be replaced. Remember what you bring to the table. Remember that, yes, you can leverage these tools and use them But at the heart of it, it's human creativity that we really want to support and we want to value. So my goal on this show, as you know, is to give you practical tips and fresh perspective and uplift inspiration that you can use right away. And really empower you to realize that you are the creator of your life. Okay, so grab an iced tea, get comfortable, and let's have some fun following your dreams together. Have you ever felt like no matter how much you think things through, something inside still feels stuck? Sometimes it's not just about strategy, it's about energy. That's why I offer sessions that combine career coaching with biofield tuning. Coaching helps you get clarity on your goals and next steps, while biofield tuning works with sound to release energetic blocks that may be holding you back. Together, they create real breakthroughs, not just in your mindset, but in how you actually feel and show up in your work and life. Clients often tell me that in just one session, they walk away feeling lighter, more focused, and more confident. Like they've released old patterns and unlocked new possibilities. If you're ready for clarity and momentum, this is your chance to align both your energy and your strategy. You can learn more and book a session with me at maggiemistel.com. A direct link will be in the show notes. Take this as your invitation to step into your full power and create the career and life you truly want. If you want to be more creative, I have an insightful guest for you today, one who knows how to help people make money from their creative talents. Elise Bennon, business coach and mentor for designers, copywriters, and creative professionals, is here to share resources from her authored 7 books, including The Creative Professional's Guide to Money. So stay tuned for this month's wonderful guest and the career tip on how to brainstorm new career possibilities for yourself. Elise Bennon is a business coach and mentor for designers, copywriters, and creative professionals. As the founder of marketing-mentor.com, she provides online resources for solopreneurs and creative professionals seeking better projects with bigger budgets. In addition to her business coaching and national speaking engagements, Elise has authored 7 books, including The Creative Professional's Guide to Money. And she also offers online courses. Welcome, Elise.
Thank you, Maggie. It's great to be here.
Oh my goodness, we have so much we could talk to you about because look at all that wonderful work you're doing. Bigger, better projects, bigger budgets. Who doesn't want that?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you do great marketing for yourself, so.
I have to practice what I preach.
Yes, but it's amazing how many people don't do that.
Right. Yeah, it's true. Why not?
Yeah, well, they don't have the authentic brand behind them. And that's what I love about you. And that's what also has inspired me to want to include you here on Making a Living with Maggie. So let's dive in, okay?
I'm ready.
All right. So you've built an obviously thriving career helping creatives and professionals market themselves effectively. What inspired you, Elise, to start this journey? And how did you turn your own passion into this sustainable business?
I would say I was inspired by rage. Rage is very motivating. I was fired from my second job out of college. I was 27 years old. I lived in New York, in Hoboken, actually. And I was just so angry that I decided I was never working for anyone again. And I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew I had to. I kind of knew I was unemployable, basically, even though I wouldn't have said it that way. And even though, actually, I realized looking back, I got myself fired because I didn't know how to quit, essentially. And so I just started looking around to all of the people I knew in New York. Everyone I knew was creative dancers or singers or artists and photographers. And it seemed to me that what they were struggling with was lack of organization. They were just totally disorganized. This was, 1988. So pre-computer, they just had too much paper. And I thought, I'm pretty organized. and a little anal and a little controlling. So I can help people with their piles of papers. And so that's basically what I did. I called myself a professional organizer. I thought I made it up. I met someone at a networking event who said, "Oh, you should know about the National Association of Professional Organizers." And I was like, okay, I guess I didn't make it up. And I just started doing that. And then little by little with these creative people, I noticed that literally at the bottom of the piles of paper, if we ever got there, was something that had to do with marketing and self-promotion that they were just not doing. They had covered it up, basically. They were ignoring it. And so when we got there, I just said, let's give that person some information about what you do and how you might be able to help them. And it was just so consistent that it became clear to me that the clutter was the obstacle to marketing. And marketing is not that complicated. It's total common sense. And it just felt natural to me. I do come from a family of self-employed people, so that didn't feel unusual to me. And I just started helping people get the word out about their business. And 37 years later, it has evolved into Marketing Mentor.
Wow. And you have an amazing process. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So my process, my framework, I call it the simplest marketing plan. And basically, over the years, I've distilled the marketing tools that I think self-employed creative people should be using into 3. And I know that this works because I've done it for myself and I've helped thousands of people do it. And if you just focus on these 3 tools, and I will happily tell you what they are, then this is what works. And I think what happens is people just get so overwhelmed by all the different things they could be doing to market their business that they do nothing and they get paralyzed. So my recommendation is 3 things. What I call strategic networking, which is people, the people in your network, the people in your life. You choose who are the people who can help you most, whether they're going to be the eventual clients or referral sources or just people who are connectors. Like I'm sure you and I are both connectors. And if you engage with people who are doing networking, then that's usually where the work comes from. So strategic networking, high quality content marketing. So staying in touch, staying visible, staying on the radar of your network through content marketing, which is so many different things. But this podcast, for example, is one, and my podcast is another. Posting on LinkedIn, email newsletter, videos on YouTube. You decide what makes the most sense for you in terms of content, but using content and sharing not what you know, but what you know about what they need. And they are your people. So you have to know who your people are, and you create high quality content for them that makes them basically say, oh, this person probably could help me. I should talk to them. And the third tool is targeted outreach, which is actually especially effective. And it's where you choose the people, the companies that you think you can help, that you want to help, that you have enthusiasm for. And you essentially introduce yourself to them, not once, not twice, not even just 3 times, but over time, many times, so that you get a little bit of their mental real estate. And when they are in their moment of need, after you've stayed in touch with your content marketing, we get what I call it newsletter magic, because if you're sending your newsletter to someone on a regular basis, when they're in their moment of need, they'll respond and say, I'm ready to talk, or they'll sign up for one of your free consultations. So when you know who your people are and you use those 3 tools together, that's how you connect the dots of marketing. And mostly what I see is people trying things for not long enough and not connecting the dots of their marketing, and therefore it doesn't work. And they say marketing doesn't work.
And it goes to the bottom of the pile.
Yes, exactly. Because no one wants to do it. And so that's the other thing. You kind of have to make it fun for yourself. You have to choose to do the things that you will actually do. And I like to say that I will teach people how to love not only the money conversation, but love reaching out to people and love doing their marketing, such that sometimes even the actual work becomes, oh, that pesky work I have to do for those pesky clients. I want to get back to my marketing.
Wow. I mean, that is a shift, Elise, from
Right?
bottom of the pile to wanting to do it. I love it.
Exactly.
Definitely transformational. Well, we
Mhm.
are in a interesting job market. I'll call it that.
Mhm.
And lots of change. And that means people are considering changes or pivots of sorts. So what advice do you have for someone, given all this great marketing expertise and what you've seen there? Do you have advice for people looking to transition into new fields or start their own business, especially if self-marketing feels overwhelming to them? What advice do you give them?
So the first, I think, is to know that it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It may look overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be, especially if you follow the simplest marketing plan framework that I just outlined. And I think if you're looking to make a transition, and I've talked to a lot of people, actually new clients lately, who say, I've been looking for a job for way too long, nothing is happening. I'm just going to start freelancing. And freelancing is essentially the same as running your own business, but it's a mindset shift that must take place if you are going to do it successfully. And often people think of freelancing as something you do on the side. It's not all that serious. I don't really need to do that much of it. I can't really market myself. I'm not ready to market myself seriously. And therefore, again, it doesn't work. But if you really perceive it and conceive of it as being a business owner and taking it seriously and doing all the things you need to do, some of which you may not enjoy at the beginning, then with that mindset, you can definitely make it work. And then once you are kind of working on that mindset, because it does take a while to set in, the other thing I suggest is looking at the market. And I know you are a proponent of soul search, but I actually think the research comes first. And
Interesting.
for me, the research is, I like to say everything flows from the market. And this is what I did. That's why I know it works. And in my story, as I told, I looked around all the people in my circle, the creative people, this is what they seem to be struggling with. This is what they seem to need. I said, I can do that. And I just followed the market. I listened to the market little by little, and I kept trying things out and giving the market what it seemed to want. And sometimes it did, and sometimes it didn't. But I just kept following such that it evolved, as you say, also into something that I have shaped, but it wasn't ever my original dream or vision or anything.
Very interesting. Yeah, so you start with the research first and use it to inform how you apply yourself to what's needed.
Right. Because if you come up with this big vision and dream and the market doesn't want it, it's not going to happen.
Well, I have a thought on that.
Tell
I
me.
guess we're doing our own debates, Elise.
Yes.
Well, what's interesting that this is the one component. Now, do I agree with you that there are situations where you describe where, yeah, if you're meant to work in the current market or the evolution of that to some extent, what I have found fascinatingly is that my clients' visions and dreams are ahead of where the market is currently, but the market's going to catch up. How many times have people said, "Oh, I had that idea. Remember when I had that idea? Now look at it,"
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I encourage my clients to remember that, yes, it may not be ready for you yet, but when you do your work to continue to put this thing in place or yourself, preparing yourself for it, when the market is ready, you'll be a professional and ready for it. So we're not actually opposing. I think we're getting to the same place, just differently. But many of my clients who've had these big visions, what's amazing is the visions do come true when the time comes, and they just need to make sure they're ready for it. And I saw this with my own career. Basically, I was a career coach, beating the drum of soul search before it was a thing. People were like, really? I should soul search? Shouldn't I just look at what's out there and, do whatever they say? I'm like, but no, you have a purpose, and you're supposed to be here for a reason. And maybe the market hasn't figured that out yet, and you need to be an advocate, And then what happened? We had 2001, we had 2008, right? We had these crises in our society that caused major shakeups. And people were all of a sudden saying, wait, I got to find a purpose to my life. Like just working for what the market wants isn't fulfilling me, So I think it's that meeting of the minds between the two. And I do love what you're saying, though. I think the market needs to be incorporated, but it's very interesting that you want to put the research first. That's giving me something to think about. Thank you.
Okay, good. But also I feel like I agree with you about all of that. And we have to be patient, because if we don't have the resources, both internal and external, to be patient, to wait for the market to catch up with us, then we're going to, be regretting that we didn't do that thing we had the idea for.
Yeah. And be preparing, right? So even with, I mentioned, in your podcast that I had the opportunity to be a radio host through Martha Stewart's channel. When I tell you that I was actually preparing myself for that, even though it was a dream I had, I never even told anyone. But I was actually preparing myself with all those coaching conversations, with all the work I was doing internally in the company and training and development and speaking in front of others. It's amazing that when you're following this vision of what you want, it's preparing you for that moment when the market hit and all of a sudden everybody wanted to figure something out. And it's like, well, who do we go to? Oh, there's Maggie. Look, she's been doing this already. That's the kind of thing. So you're right. It's be patient. It's be prepared, establish yourself, and be ready for that market to catch up. So many people are struggling though with we talked about, networking and how important people are in this process, right? And so, a lot of what I hear, and I'm sure you do too, is that self-promotion feel, I don't know, like tooting your own horn, and I don't like to do that, or it feels exhausting to some people. So what's your approach, Elise, to building relationships and attracting opportunities in the way that feels natural and sustainable when it comes to this networking and self-promotion? What do you recommend?
Well, first, I'm just going to echo something that you also said on my podcast, but my version of it is that self-promotion is not about you. Meaning that when we are doing networking, when we are doing content marketing, when we are doing outreach, it's not about us. It's not about what we know. It's about finding out the pain points of the market and the people that we want to work with, and basically using what I call curiosity as a marketing tool. And when you use curiosity as a marketing tool, that means, for example, you go to a networking event, which you probably dread going to, but you go with questions that you can ask, as opposed to, yes, you have to have your elevator pitch, but you don't have to have this whole long list of things you're going to say. That's what's exhausting. It is not exhausting to ask questions and listen and connect the dots and take notes and then follow up later so that people are impressed by what you remember about what you talked about with them. That is not exhausting, right?
I love that, Elise. That is genius level. And I think a lot of people miss because they think self-promotion is just constantly pushing and promoting themselves. And we've all been to those networking events where, someone shoves a business card in your hand and just, spouts off their 15-second pitch that takes, 5 minutes. And we're kind of like, oh, let me get out of here, But what you're talking about, when someone takes an active interest and has those questions and they're really genuinely curious, it's a fabulous conversation, right? It's great to be part of on either side.
And you learn a lot, and then you can integrate what you learn into your content marketing and use it and share it. And I find it feeds me rather than drains me.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that. I was nodding profusely.
I hear you nodding.
Am I nodding?
Maggie.
Yeah. And I think it's also, about helping people, to really live that purpose and live that passion. And what we hear a lot is stand out, right? They've got it. So as much as self-promotion, it's about being curious and then being memorable because you care and you're actually an interested person. But there's also this, we've got to position ourselves. We've got to stand out. I want to, there's so much competition. How do I do that? So what do you recommend to people who maybe are looking for their dream job? I have a lot of those folks. Maybe they're building a freelance business, which you have and I have as well, or launching a new venture, something that's never been done before. How can they do that? What do you recommend for people to stand out?
So first, I would say it's not about being the biggest or loudest or anything like that. To me, it's about being the most genuine, the most you can be, whatever that is, and you may be constantly in the process of discovering that. But the most you, and not trying to connect with everyone, not trying to be everything to everyone. And if you are really clear on who you are and who you are best suited to serve, and everything you put out there, again, through your networking, through your content marketing, through your outreach, reflects that, it will attract the people you are trying to attract and repel the people that would be wasting your time and vice versa. And I think a lot of people are reluctant to repel anyone because they think you just never know. That might be an opportunity. That's true. But, and this kind of comes from Oliver Berkman's book, 4,000 Weeks, you really have to choose who you're going to disappoint, who you're not going to work with, who you're not going to pursue so that you can focus. Because what's exhausting is not being focused, being all over the place. So I'm a huge proponent of focus, and everything in my plan is designed to help you focus.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's fantastic. And I think the people that are struggling with that long-term job search, as I mentioned on your podcast as well, they're trying to blanket it. Like, I'll be all things to all people, and then someone will hire me. And that's never what an employer wants. They don't want someone who says, I'll take anything.
Become a blur, basically. There's no line there.
Right. And someone else, the interesting thing is someone else will have, if you're trying to be all things to all people, there's always somebody else who's going to have more experience than you in one of those areas. So you're not going to stand out anyway. So one last quick question, and this is back to the money conversation, right? You wrote the Creative Professional's Guide to Money. Can you give us, some insights about the money conversation, or how you recommend people think about money or ask for money? What do you recommend around that, Elise?
Well, I think the main point I would make is that it's up to us to initiate the money conversation. It speaks volumes when you're the one who says, you know what, let's talk about money. Instead of waiting for the other person to bring it up or hoping they don't bring it up. And in the world of self-employment, you would be surprised, maybe you wouldn't, how many clients I have who in a negotiation or in a discovery call, never address the issue of money. And at the end, the client says, oh, well, then send me a proposal. And then they have to go do at least a day of work on a document when they don't even know if the prospect is a good fit or can afford them. So I think we show ourselves and demonstrate our professionalism by simply saying, let's talk about money, or are you ready to talk about money? And then just making it easy for the other person to have that conversation, because if you're reluctant to have it, you can be sure other people are too.
I love that. And we've all fallen into that trap. But it's good to know that it's actually smart to bring it up and to make sure, like you said, it's part of the vetting process. And I would encourage people, when they're looking for jobs or looking for clients, to vet the client as much as they're being vetted, right?
Absolutely.
It is this two-way street. Yeah. And it's about that match. Oh, I love this, Elise. It's so complimentary, the work that we do. And it's been such a pleasure. Yeah. Where can people find out more about you?
So my website is the hub of everything, marketing-mentor.com. And the best thing to do is to sign up for my quick tips, which is my content marketing, my email newsletter, which I send out every 2 weeks with, again, marketing tips that are essentially about what I know people need and want to know more about.
Fabulous. Well, I am on that list, and I'm already getting value. Awesome. And I've been marketing my business for 20 years. So
there you go.
We can always learn, and you are always evolving. And Elise, it was so great to have you here.
Thank you, Maggie. It's been a pleasure.
Now we've heard from Elise, it's time for your career tip, shared from my book, Are You Ready to Love Your Job? Now, with all your elements documented and the proper mindset obtained, the time is now to make a list of your career possibilities. To list your ideal careers that are a match for you, for your skills, for what motivates you, your passions, your interests, your strengths, a match for your true calling. At this stage, many of my clients see their ideal career crystal clear. Others see it as a vast list of possibilities, and others need a little more coaching to create their full list. In any case, I always encourage my clients to really spend some time listing possible careers. So just take out your journal or a piece of paper or your phone and use these ways to enhance and complete your possibilities list. First, look for themes. Many of my clients start to have a list of career possibilities when uncovering their elements. If not, they start to at least discover a theme. Themes usually stand out when you review your interests, skills, strengths, and motivators. They all seem to point to some career option when you look from a deeper view. One client realized that he was good at and loved to tell stories and loved visual aspects and was a good critic. A light went off when we talked about creating movies, a possibility. Another option is to make a list of careers you find intriguing. Just take your pen and journal or your phone and write out a list of 10 careers that you find intriguing. Careers you think about but perhaps never thought possible. After you make your list of 10, I want you to match up your top elements to those careers. You will notice connections to your elements. As an example, if you thought of becoming an astronaut, you can match up your interests in exploration, travel, and/or science fiction. You might not be the first person on Mars, but you might just find a career that matches your elements that you can make a reality. Another tip is to revisit your elements and brainstorm. Read over your journal and your list of elements and brainstorm from there. No idea is a bad idea. Write them all down, as many as you can in 3 minutes. Then remove the blinders. Don't censor. List them all. If you're still struggling, return to your motivators. To me, motivation is a driving force for change, and it usually serves as one of the most telling of the career elements. One of my clients loved to mix business and the world of art. She considered herself an ideal liaison, the perfect bridge between creative and business. She also realized that her skills learned as a prosecutor enabled her to understand facts, listen to both sides of a story, and also make a case for a constructive outcome. She wanted to change from that career, and after networking and informational interviewing, combining this idea of creative and business, she found a connection and even a recommendation to manage the corporate affairs of a well-known art museum. She found her mix. She found her ideal career possibility. We all can using these tips. To hear more tips like this, check out previous episodes of Making a Living with Maggie and purchase my book, Are You Ready to Love Your Job? Make a Great Living Through Soul Search, Research, and Job Search. Available at MaggieMistel.com and on Amazon, where it ranked #1 as a new release in Job Search. I'm sorry to say that we've run out of time. Thanks for joining again. I'll be back next month. Here's a quote to keep you inspired and to remind you how creativity can support you in making a great living. In light of today's conversation, I hope it resonates. In today's economy, creativity isn't just an optional flair. It's increasingly central to work that can withstand automation and truly add value. Thanks for listening. I'm Maggie Mistel, your career coach, inspiring you to make a great living.
To understand more about how Maggie can help with your individual career needs and goals, contact her at MaggieMistel.com or Facebook.com/Making a Living with Maggie Mistel. Together, we can all make a great living. Great living.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.